All right, this is part 7, the last and hopefully best part. But each part's only about 10 minutes long. Some of them are a little bit less, some of them a little bit more. So it's really not that much time if you think about it, okay? All right, if you want to influence people, a lot of times a name will do it. Back in the day, they called Iceland, Iceland, and Greenland, Greenland, even though Greenland is icy and Iceland is green. They didn't want people to go to Iceland that was very green. They called it Iceland. I wouldn't go to a place called Iceland, would you? In Greenland, they wanted people to go, even though it's very icy, so they called it Greenland. Well, what you name a bill matters. So in Congress, a lot of times they'll want to push a bill. Let's say I want to eliminate gun rights. I don't want people to have gun rights. So I'll call it something else. Maybe I'll call it the Child Welfare Act. Even though there is a Child Welfare Act, it's not that. And then if you vote against me, if you push down the bill, I can go out on stumps and make speeches and say, he voted against the Child Welfare Act, which is dishonest. And we need to hold our politicians to account. But I'm just setting the tone that a lot of times things are called different things. So there is something, there is a, let's see, where did, I just had it a second ago. Oh, there's a Civil Rights Act of 1964 and a Voting Rights Act of 1965. And people think that's when everybody got the right to vote, but it's not true. That's just in 1944 is when they got the rights to vote. But the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act had to do with other things. And because they kept putting blocks in the way to vote, had to do with literacy tests and moving polling places and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of times people that are uneducated will go, oh, well, no, that's when civil rights, voting rights, but it's not true. And remember, even before 1944, in the 1800s, in the 19th century, there was all these rights that were completely repealed when Democrats came to office. People just don't know their history. And so they'll look at something, like if you see something called the trash bill, you might overlook it, but it might have to do with, I don't know. I mean, it could have to do with anything. So nowadays they name bills things because they want to intimidate people. I'm telling you, in politics, it can be very dishonest, and we have to hold our politicians to account. There was a man named Frederick Douglass. I'm hoping that most of you guys have heard of him. If not, most of your parents have heard of him. Frederick Douglass was a black man, a famous abolitionist. And he went around, he was asked to be kind of like the face of abolition, or I can't think of the yeah, he was he was asked to be the face of, I was going to rewind it and then I thought, I don't have the energy. All right, so he's a famous abolitionist. He was asked to be the face of that, okay, to end slavery. So you can replay that over and over again, it'll make you feel good. He was under a white man who had been kind of going around the country touring. And of course we know Abraham Lincoln, also famous abolitionist. And anyway, Frederick Douglass, I think because it's my 7th video, I can't talk anymore, was asked to go around and speak. And he was a man of character and a man of courage. And he was told that the Constitution was very much a pro-slavery bill. Or pro-slavery. I really should re-record, but I really am not going to. Pro-slavery document. I have to be careful with my words. Okay? So Frederick Douglass, being a man of character that he was, being an honorable man that he was, instead of just taking this white man's word for it, said, all right, I'm going to go read it for myself. If I'm going to say this, I need to be able to prove it. Same with you guys. I don't want you to take my word for anything. I want you to go look up these writings. Look up these things. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed when you go to the Library of Congress and you see where Congress is the one that printed the first Bible, and Congress is the one that wanted those huge 18 by 20 foot paintings in the Capitol building to show our Christian heritage. And Congress is the one that had engraved on the doors of the Supreme Court the 10 Commandments. And Congress is the one that had the statue of Moses put in the Supreme Court. It was all Congress, all for a purpose. And so he went and he read the Constitution and he was amazed and he said, oh no, this is not a pro-slavery document at all. Our founding fathers were not wanting slavery. It is clear from me reading this document, this is a very anti-slavery document. Nowhere in it does it say slaves. And the 3/5 clause that we talked about in class that people use to say, look how this is a slavery document. I told you guys, even when I was explaining it in class last semester, the teachers were fighting against me. The teachers were like, no, that's racist. You can't say that, Mrs. Wood. And as we talked about, they went, oh, the kids got it before the teachers did. I don't even remember who the teachers are, so I hope I'm not offended anybody. But yeah, the teachers were like, oh, they got it last. You know why? They've been indoctrinated and told it's a bad thing. But really, the 3/5 clause was put in there to help end slavery, which is what Frederick Douglass, a very learned man, discovered for himself. The 3/5 clause is as follows. We talked about this in class. White men who owned slaves wanted to count all those slaves so they would have more representatives in Congress. They wanted to count them as people so they'd have more representatives in Congress. But when it came time to vote against slavery issues, those people that they wanted to count them as were now property and couldn't vote. So actually you might have 300 people and only 2 people, the 2 white men, being able to vote. So the white men would vote for slavery. So they were actually using the slaves to count, to have more representatives to further slavery. Well, if those slaves had the power to vote, they would not vote for slavery. So it was to count every one of those slaves as men was actually hurting their cause, because that was just one more vote that the white Democrats would have to further slavery. So we came up with a compromise that they were worth 3/5 of a person for population's sake, because we were trying to limit the amount of representatives they had in Congress so we could end slavery. But to anybody, really, even on Fox News sometimes, I'll see somebody and he's, well, the 3/5 clause, we are a racist nation. And you go, sir, I know most of you know what the 3/5 clause are. They're very learned men. They say it on purpose. Remember Greenland, Iceland, Greenland? They say it on purpose. People that said Greenland was a beautiful place knew it was icy, but they said it on purpose so people would go there. Well, same thing with this. They know what the 3/5 clause is, but they know most of the people watching Fox News or CNN or whatever don't know. Even conservatives like me, we don't know. And so they say that, and then we go, oh yeah, our founding fathers must be racist. No, they weren't. They were trying to end slavery from the very beginning. Very beginning. And do I understand why George Washington and Thomas Jefferson owned slaves and hated slavery and thought it was wrong at the same time? I don't understand it. I will one day when I go to heaven, I will understand it. But I know they always fought against slavery. They hated slavery. So he looked, this black man, Frederick Douglass, read the Constitution. He looked at it and he said the 3/5 clause is actually there to reduce slavery, not continue slavery. So in his writings, Frederick Douglass, at the very beginning, you see, he says it's a very racist document. But as he went and read about it and studied it, he changed his tune. And so later on, as he was touring abolitionist, he realized very, very anti-slavery document. So I thought that was really interesting to know. Frederick Douglass is an important name I really want you guys to know. And I know I've given you a lot of information this week, more information than I've had you lap book. But we'll be going over this in the next several weeks. It's not like I want you to know every detail. I do want you to learn it, though. I don't want you to come to class and have this blank look on your face like you don't know. I expect you to know this information, just like when you go to college and you're in class, you take notes. And even if you don't know it, you can go back in your notes and you can answer me and you can look at it. Oh, Mrs. Wood, I remember when you were talking about this, okay? I have a sheet to give y'all, first 7 black men elected to office, and I'm not sure if I already gave it to y'all or not, but I'll give it to you if I haven't. And matter of fact, the Democrats, until I think it's even the 1970s, there was no black Democrats at all. And so it's so funny to me now that it's known if black men are Republicans, they really get raked through the coals, like Clarence Thomas. And Republicans was the party of the black man. So I don't understand. Greenland, Iceland, Greenland. They just kept saying it loud and long enough that Republicans hated black people and minorities. And I guess people started believing. I go, this party was started by black men and minorities. So it doesn't even make sense. But famous Democrats couldn't even get elected without the endorsement of the KKK. Even in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, like Ma Ferguson. They just couldn't even get elected, so they had to go back and get the endorsement of the KKK. The Democratic Party is the home of the KKK. I want you to know this one name, Joseph Rain Heine. He's on the sheet. I'll give you the 7 black men. He was the first black Speaker of the House, and he was Speaker of the House in the 1800s, before all those 23 civil rights amendments were repealed. He was the black Speaker of the House. Can you guys believe that? That's when my husband said, you're going to have to give me his name, Daddy, because I don't believe that. He was taught so differently. First of all, he went to school in North Carolina, a very racist area. We had, in my hometown of Greenville, when I moved to Greenville when I was 16, they had my high school was a very affluent high school. There's about 60% black students and 40% white students. We had a black prom and a white prom. Black homecoming court, white homecoming court. Yeah. Can you believe that? No. Nope. So anyway, all right, y'all. And I'm sorry, we had black homecoming court and white homecoming court. I think it was one prom, though. Oh, sorry, I told you wrong. It was one prom, but we had a black homecoming court, white homecoming court. Sorry, I just said it because I'm tired. So I think that's it. I will, for the rest of this, let's see. Oh, it's 11 minutes. I don't have time. I was going to quiz you guys. I'll do one more little video where I'm, if you want me to, where I'm, well, nah, it's all right. We'll just do it in class, where I just kind of go over this information. If you want me to send you like a little one where I go over everything and ask you questions, I will. I know there's a lot of information. The only things that I asked you to lap book were the amendments, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, and do them all in little separate cards, okay, that fold over. 13th Amendment, open it up, say what it is. 14th and 15th Amendment, the articles 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, which one represent legislative, which one executive, which one judicial. The three men that you listen to on Monday, you have the little picture you should already have in their lap book. You pull it up and you have the information. I want those all separate. I don't want it on one long sheet. It's like as if you're presenting it like a project, and it should be interesting, and people should want to like open it up or whatever, and you'll be displaying those at the end of the semester. What Supreme Court's cases limited our freedoms without legislation? There was no laws on it. They just did it themselves. And those are the three we discussed in our videos. Dred Scott, Mulberry versus Madison, and Roe v. Wade. Those are three huge ones. What about repealing prayer in school? That was another one. I mean, just terrible, the things that the Supreme Court did without, there was no laws against it. People wanted prayer in schools. Usually it was one person that brought a court case. So I can't remember if there's anything else. I put it in the email, the stuff that I wanted you guys to know. Oh, I think I did want you to know that last name of the abolitionist, Frederick Douglass, which I couldn't say abolition, but, you know, there you go. I wanted you to know his name and who that was and what he found. So I hope you guys have a great week. I hope that wasn't very much to lap book. I want your lap books to look nice, though. If you have several things just thrown up there or things printed on a copier and thrown up there, really, it's going to be a majority of your grade, the lap book, so you're going to want to redo that. And I'll be telling you this week what stuff I want you to redo and such. Because there's some people, I think, if you just print it, you're not learning it. And it really needs to be in your own hand, or you need to print it up, or you're not learning it, okay? And it really is vital information, and I think once you know it, you're glad you know. You know, this is our United States, you guys, the best country in the whole world. I don't care for all the apologists that go around. Anytime I go out of the country, I'm so thankful to get back to the United States. There is no country like our country. There's no people like our people. Man, I go to Slovakia and other places, and people look down. It's like they're afraid to meet your eye, and they all wear gray. And, of course, I wear loud colors, and they all wear gray, and you know, they've had communism in places over there in Poland and places, and they've just been oppressed. Well, people that I know that come here are so thankful for the United States, and they realize what a great nation is. That's why so many foreigners come over here and they make their mark, and they can't believe why we aren't making our mark. You know, they're like, man, you can do anything in the United States. It's so awesome. All right, have a great week. If you have any questions, you can email me or text me. All right, bye guys.